get a little crazy out there today.
Media outlets from around the world await a verdict in the Rodney King beating.
Maybe I can bring the sun back up here.
All right, run it for me. Catalytic converters. They need platinum. How much they got in there? 10 million.
1992. All right, it's starring Tyrese Gibson, Ray Liotta, and Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son. This movie, like the title says, takes place in 1992. The IMDb description, though, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it at all. It says a shopkeeper must save his son from an angry mob during the 1992 LA uprising after the Rodney King verdict.
I read that too, and I'm like, is this an omen to what this movie's going to be, that they didn't even watch the movie and they just kind of faked their homework in? The teacher's not going to notice.
Yeah, and what's crazy is normally whoever sets up the IMDb page is from the studio, so they didn't even watch their own product. Okay, so this movie is actually about in the midst of the Rodney King riots after the verdict, a heist is supposed to take place at where the shopkeeper works. Him and his son were trying to take refuge and end up in the middle of the chaos of the heist. It's one of those. And I'm glad that I actually didn't watch the trailer. I'm going to go ahead and give you my initial impression, because I knew about this movie a couple years ago because the guy who plays Tyrese Gibson's son, who plays Antoine, I think his name is, Christopher Ammanuel. Christopher Ammanuel. I basically, in the independent film world, I've been friends with him on Facebook. We have the same circle of friends. Never met him directly, but he's been promoting this thing, showing pictures of him on set, showing pictures of him and Tyrese, showing the private screening. And I'm like, okay. And then, unfortunately, it took 2 years before it dropped because Ray Liotta passed away in 2022. Rest in peace. So this was his last big major production. And my initial impression from just seeing the post and stuff was like, oh, I definitely want to see what this is about. But I didn't watch any trailers or anything. I was just wanting to support and hoping it would be good. How about you, sir? What was your initial impression?
Same thing. It was something with Tyrese was in it. I was like, hey, I want to support. 1992 was a good year. So I was like, hey, let's just see what's up. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, again, not watching the trailer, in my opinion, is probably one of the most beneficial things you can do. People disagree; they like to watch the trailer, but I feel like you get rewarded with so much that wasn't spoiled for you, or your expectations are set up based on trailer. And I had no idea. It said 1992, but I just had no idea that it was centered around the Rodney King verdict and things of that nature. So that was a pleasant surprise when I actually started watching the movie. So, if you don't mind, I want to go ahead and start.
Go
with my highs and lows.
Throw the first rock.
All right, I'll throw the first rock. All right, so I'm gonna start with my highs. I know you like to go from your lows and then try and bring it up. You try and lift it up.
I try to slow clap.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what you're doing.
And this is a Lionsgate film, so.
Oh, here we go.
The Crow. Yeah. We did The Crow last time. I'm just
cut that man a check. All right. So for me, highs. 1992. This film was intense. Again, I didn't watch the trailer, so as I'm watching, I was really, I was impressed by the creative idea of creating a heist that's in the midst of the Rodney King riots. I thought that was created because, there was a lot of crime that was happening that they couldn't keep track of. So it would be the perfect cover to try and pull off something so crazy that like in the trailer, you said you require a miracle to pull off. It was intense all the way through, which I thought was well, because normally the lead, I'm never really worried about the lead. I'm never really worried that it's going to get worse. I just pretty much just waiting on them to overcome. But the way they did this film, which is kind of a twofer as far as high and low, but I'll get back to that. But the way this was done was like, there was times where you were wondering, like, is everybody going to come out of this? Is it really going to work out? And I thought they did pretty well with that level of intensity. Keeping me on my seat, not just feeling like, yeah, it's going to work out. Like, I'm not even worried. The subtle ease into three different storylines. And when I say that, the lead character had a storyline with his son. The villains had a storyline that they were working on. And then there was the Rodney King situation and verdict coming out. All of those were, you're watching in the beginning and you know it's going to tie together, or you're hoping, but you don't know how, because they're basically introducing the Rodney King thing, they're introducing very subtle in the background, you know, while you're getting the dynamic with the lead character and the son. And then you see the situation with the villains trying to plan out how they're going to do things. And then they do it nice and easy where they combine it all to make one whole story. Now it's all one, but it was basically spread out in the beginning, and they did a great job of just like easing you into it to make it one story. You know, sometimes, you know, you watch movies, they tell a story and you're waiting. And I'll give an example. The TV series on Apple TV, Apple Plus, Bad Monkey. It took 3 episodes before they really started making the Vince Vaughn show come together. And I was actually ready to quit it, but I had to know how it was going to tie in. It took forever. And sometimes they don't do a good job, or they want you to wait to the end to find out. And I like that they started off separate. You knew it was going to tie in, but you didn't have to wait long. And when it did, it was a nice, smooth transition. And you really had 3 overall story arcs becoming one instead of just the villain and the bad guys. You end up having the Rodney King situation. I also really loved that Ray Liotta. I felt like he was the darkest he has ever been. He had a look on his face in a couple of those scenes that I just thought like he was possessed. He was so evil. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a confrontation, and the way he was looking, you know, it was like, I just don't, it's hard to explain, but it was more than just like he was just ready to go to do whatever. It was like such a darkness in him, almost like you were just looking at the devil himself. He was really, really embodied this role. He was really pushing it through as the darkest ever been. And Ray Liotta does dark very well, but I really liked the way he played this one. I really, really loved it. Also, everyone's acting was on point. There was no bad acting. The quality of the production, the music, we saw that Snoop Dogg was also the executive producer. The music felt like 1992, but also still felt very relevant. So I actually wouldn't mind checking that soundtrack out and still bumping it today. Like I feel like a lot of that stuff will still hit now, even though it kind of had a 90s vibe, but it can still bump today. As far as getting into my lows, the character that Tyrese played, Merc, or you know, was his nickname. He's they pumped him up to be, his name was Mercer, but he had the nickname Merc. They pumped him up to be this very dangerous original gangster. It was like, that's OG Merc, you know, and they made it seem like he was just this badass motherfucker. And then there was a line that he even told the people, like, you don't know who you messing with. And so I got excited. I'm ready to see. And that's one of my lows, is that the action didn't deliver. When they finally gave us Merc, OG Merc, he was barely getting through this thing, man. He was letting those people give him a run for his money. And I was waiting to see the legend that they had built up throughout the first act in this movie to step up, especially when he said it himself, like, oh, y'all don't know who you messing with. So I was like, oh, here we go. And then I'm like, you all right, bro? You need some help? Like, okay, all right. So that was a low for me. And then there was a little things with the writing that threw me off, where I felt like they were making things a little too convenient. I don't want to spoil, but you know, keys just left in cars, which we know, you know, that weren't, you know, okay. Anyway, so Devin, I know you're mad at me, but that's not a spoiler.
No. I'm not saying it's spoil. That pissed me off too, because 1992, it's not pushed to start. Right. Like, I grew up in that era. The first thing you do, check your keys. It's normally on this big key ring, like, or you hide in the glove compartment. Like, everybody had their spots hidden. Right. And there were just certain things like that just grinded my gears.
Yeah, a little too convenient. But those 2 lows are actually the only thing I got. So if you're willing to take it over, let me know how you feel about it, sir. I'm ready.
For this movie, the first low that I'll say is race. And race is a part of this, with the fact that it's not only in 1992, but they're hinging it on the fact of the Rodney King, and they're using some live footage that goes together. And it's, I'm assuming, authentic live footage. I don't think it was doctored in any way, because even me being probably a kid at the time, I remembered certain things of my family watching stuff around the TV. And so there's one scene where there's the red truck, the infamous red truck, and I knew what it was, and I'm sure the audience knew what it was. And they didn't have to go into detail and show what would happen in the moments after, but they left the race part open ended. And I don't mean that it's a movie that's supposed to solve race or closure on characters. They just kind of sprinkle race as a main character, just like the music, just like the background, the setting, but they don't elaborate or finish the story on it. They just say it's there. The other thing would be continuing just stories that seem like they weren't finished. So just like Tyrese's character, without spoiling anything, we never get Laker tickets. You'll understand that when you watch it. We never get Laker tickets. There's no closure in certain stories, whether it was the relationship with the son, whether it was with his past life and his gang activity and what he goes to jail for, because he goes to jail, but he's able to get a job. And it's an interesting thing there because you're trying to find out more about this character. The other thing I would say is just it felt like it was in the deep end of the ocean. And what I mean by that is Ocean's 11 movies that are heist, like that pull it off so brilliantly, almost to the point where it's like a nice whiskey or scotch or bourbon. This came off as shit smoked like a bull. This came off where it bumbled and stumbled throughout the gates, and there were plot hole issues. They were issues with the pacing. I thought it was too long of a movie, and the overacting. Okay, so it's a double-sided coin, and what I mean by that is there were characters and times where the acting was so over the top, it didn't feel authentic. And it was a disservice to people like Ray, who I thought did a great job in the acting. Those moments you felt real and intense. And even Tyrese's acting, you felt that. Even the young kid that played his son, I thought it was right there. But there was some other moments where it was just over. It was just too much seasoning on there. Now, there are some good spots about this movie. The good spots, I would say, that Eddie mentioned before. The music was great. The setting that was, downtown, that area at that time. The tone, I thought the tone of this movie, it was gritty. The fight scenes were gritty. They were able to convey stories visually, so I like that as well. And Tyrese's acting, I thought he did a great job, phenomenal, I should say, as far as what his acting was. I believe the role he played. I didn't think of any other past movies or projects he was working on, and for that time period that movie was going, I was invested in that character and that storyline they were completing.
Yes, awesome. That's funny. You thought some of the acting was over, and I guess everybody has a different perspective. I actually thought everybody was right where they needed to be because it didn't take me out, none of the acting. But I respect it. I respect it. I actually like when we have when we actually watch the movie together. So I like when we still walk away with something different and we're not influencing each other's review. So I appreciate you for that one.
No problem.
So let's go ahead and then let's rate this thing. All right. I'm gonna pull it up and I'm gonna go down the list if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Okay, just want to make sure without the sound effects, we already been struggling with this episode, so I'm like, all right, well here goes another miss. Okay,
I'll try to throw some sound effects out there. Let's see, throw it up.
Oh God, so is it a classic? Is it a good watch? Is it a catch on streaming? Not doing it for me? Oh hell no!
Ooh.
Or if you ever show me this again, I will slap you. That's a good slaps right there. That's somebody who's really getting work. Somebody was getting worked up with those slaps. I appreciate it. Dad Panther, where you at with it, sir?
I'm gonna say for this movie, catch it on streaming. I didn't think it was anything that was negative about the movie. I'm not gonna tell that to somebody else, but I thought it was cool. It was a good movie.
Yeah. So, I left out of there yesterday on a good watch. I was thoroughly impressed with it. And as it settled on me, would I have been as satisfied if I spent the money? Because we're the A-listers, so it's like, yeah, let's go see a movie, and it was a good experience. But that alone, me thinking like, would I actually spend money? No. So it's a catch on streaming for me as well because I did enjoy it. And it was definitely better than I thought it was going to be. And I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't watch the trailer. But it's something that I would just say, hey, when it drops, go ahead and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm not saying it's bad. Catch on streaming does not mean I just don't think it's worth you're right now saying, hey, let's plan a movie night, take the whole family or the gang out and be like, yo, we're gonna watch this 1992. I don't think it's on that level, So
You know what I was thinking about though? And I look at it, I didn't want to put it as a negative or a flaw with this movie. This movie came out too late. And I understand that they were waiting for Ray and finishing up some stuff. But what I mean by too late is I think if this movie was early 2000s, I think we would have been talking in the same situation as End of Watch, Crash, the movies like that. I felt like that's what the tone of this movie was. I thought it was shot in the way that we would have appreciated this maybe 10 years ago.
No, yeah, absolutely. It was something that would have been received a lot better. So, no, but hopefully, it is still. I want people to watch this, and hopefully, they get the success they need with the streaming numbers. Because I again, I did enjoy this, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. So,
I will say this, just random. Tyrese wrote a song for Michael Jackson. It was called 2000 Watts. So it was interesting that he kept it to the storyline inside Watts. And so, hey, the little Easter egg, if you want to go back, listen to that Michael Jackson song, him using his real deep voice. Tyrese helped write that song. So
that's what's up. Yes, people, a lot of these young kids don't know that Tyrese is a musician and an artist first.
Singing that Coca-Cola in the bus.
Man, that was my favorite commercial. It still is. I can go to YouTube and sing along, knowing I'm not hitting it the same, but
I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some times where I've been on a bus or a train and I'm singing, acting like I don't know that I'm singing out loud to get a pretty little thing's attention. I'm just saying. Always Coca-Cola. I'm just shooting.
Yeah. You guys, if you kids don't know, Tyrese Coca-Cola commercial. All right, you see him sitting on the bus with the headphones. You know you got the right commercial.
Smiling as ever. Shoot, he was getting the ladies, I'm sure.
Yes. All right, so. Again, this was 1992. Check it out. Let us know in the comments how you guys felt about it, how you felt about the review. And make sure you like, subscribe, let everybody else know where they can find the real reviews, unapologetic. We try to give it to you guys. All right.
No diddy.
We'll see you on the next one.